Have you ever felt like your mind is trapped in a maze of negative thoughts? Thoughts repeating over and over, like a stuck record, pulling you down with anxiety, self-doubt, and insecurity. Have you ever wondered, why can't I stop these thoughts? Or even felt like a prisoner of your own mind? If you've ever experienced this, don't miss this video. Today, we will explore a powerful method to help you break free from the cycle of negativity and rediscover peace of mind: mindful thinking. What are your thoughts on negative thinking? Have you ever gone through anxious times? Share your experience in the comments below. And most importantly, make sure to watch until the end, because in the final part of this video, I will reveal a powerful secret, one that has transformed the lives of many people. A simple yet effective practice that can instantly help you break free from negative thoughts. Now, let's begin with a story. Part 1. The Parable of the Tied Elephant. In a village, people raised an elephant from a young age. At first, they used a strong rope to tie it down. As a baby, the elephant struggled and tried to break free but failed. Over time, it accepted the belief that, "I cannot escape from this restraint." Years passed, and the elephant grew into a massive and powerful creature. However, something strange happened. It never attempted to break free. Even though the rope was now thin and weak. We are just like that elephant. Negative thoughts work in the same way as that rope. They don't bind us because they are strong, but because we believe we cannot escape them. But what is the reality? You have the power to free yourself through mindful thinking. Part 2. What is mindful thinking? Mindful thinking does not mean you have to chase away negative thoughts. On the contrary, it is about recognizing them without becoming entangled. Imagine your thoughts as clouds drifting across the sky. You are not meant to control or suppress them, only to observe them as they come and go. This shift in perspective is at the core of mindfulness. It is not about eliminating thoughts but about transforming your relationship with them. One of the Buddha's most profound teachings states, "Suffering does not come from what happens to us, but from how we react to it." This highlights the fundamental truth that our distress is often not rooted in external events themselves but in the way we perceive and engage with them. When a negative thought arises, what is your usual response? Do you try to push it away? Do you blame yourself for having such a thought? Do you spiral into an internal dialogue of, "Why is everything so terrible?" If so, you have unknowingly reinforced the very thought you wanted to escape. The paradox of the mind is that the more we resist an unwanted thought, the stronger it becomes. This is known as the ironic process theory, the psychological principle that trying to suppress a thought only makes it more persistent. When you tell yourself, "I must not think about failure," your mind inevitably fixates on it. This is why forcing negativity out of your consciousness is counterproductive. Instead of freeing yourself, you become trapped in a cycle of resistance and frustration. Mindful thinking offers an alternative. Rather than fighting against thoughts or labeling them as bad, you practice simply acknowledging their presence without attachment. A thought is just a thought. It is not reality. Nor is it an ultimate truth. When you observe your thoughts without engaging in them, they naturally lose their grip over you. Picture a leaf floating down a stream. If you do not reach out to grasp it, it continues drifting until it disappears. Your thoughts function the same way. The key lies in awareness without reaction. When a negative thought emerges, instead of suppressing it or feeding it with emotional energy, Recognize it as it is, a transient mental event. By doing so, you disarm its power over you. The moment you stop engaging with a thought, it ceases to have control. This is why mindfulness is not about positive thinking or changing your thoughts, but about cultivating detachment from them. You shift from being a prisoner of your mind to being an observer of it. This practice does not mean that negative emotions will never arise, but it ensures they no longer dictate your state of being. The mind, like the sky, remains vast and open regardless of passing clouds. When you embrace this perspective, peace becomes not something you attain, but something you uncover, something that was always there beneath the noise of unnecessary mental struggle. The story of the empty cup. Once upon a time, a young man sought out a wise Zen master for advice. His face was filled with tension and sorrow, and his eyes were heavy with unspoken worries. As soon as he met the master, he complained sorrowfully, "Master, I always feel uneasy. Negative thoughts surround me every day, leaving me constantly anxious, fearful, and exhausted. I don't know how to escape from them. I've tried ignoring them, and I've tried to think positively, but nothing has changed. Please help me." The Zen master did not answer right away but offered a gentle smile. He quietly poured tea into a cup placed in front of the young man. The young man watched closely as the tea filled the cup to the brim. Strangely, the master continued to pour even after the cup was full, causing the tea to spill over and onto the table. The young man exclaimed in surprise, "Master, the tea is overflowing. The cup can't hold any more." The master paused, looked at the young man with deep understanding, and asked softly, "Do you notice anything from this?" The young man, still puzzled, shook his head. The master then slowly explained, "Your mind is just like this cup. It is filled with negative thoughts, worries, and anxieties. When you hold onto these thoughts without letting them go, how can you make room for peace? If you want to pour in new tea, you must first empty the cup. Similarly, if you want a tranquil mind, you need to learn how to let go of the thoughts that bind you." The young man fell silent, contemplating the master's words. He had never viewed his mind in this way before. All his life, he had been trying to fight against his negative thoughts. But the more he resisted, the stronger they seemed to become. Perhaps his approach had been wrong from the start. The master set down the teacup and continued, "To empty your mind, you don't need to chase away or force any thought to disappear. Simply observe them, watching as they come and go like clouds drifting across the sky. Don't cling to them, and don't try to push them away. That is mindful thinking, the art of letting go and finding inner peace." The young man looked up at the master, feeling an indescribable sense of relief. A new light of understanding dawned within him, offering a fresh perspective on his problem. Lesson learned: when your mind is filled with negative thoughts, the key is not to fight them but to learn how to observe them without attachment. Only by letting go can you truly welcome inner peace. Part 3. How to practice mindful thinking. Practicing mindful thinking is not about suppressing or changing thoughts. It is about changing your relationship with them. Instead of being controlled by your thoughts, you learn to observe them with awareness and detachment. This shift in perception creates space between you and your mental chatter, allowing clarity and peace to emerge naturally. Here are 3 simple steps to begin practicing mindful thinking. The first step is recognizing negative thoughts. Most of the time, people react to their thoughts unconsciously, believing them to be absolute truths. However, mindfulness teaches that thoughts are merely mental events, not objective reality. When a negative thought arises, simply acknowledge it by saying to yourself, "Ah, I am having this thought." The key here is to recognize without judgment. Instead of labeling the thought as bad or feeling guilty for having it, simply note its presence as you would notice a cloud in the sky. This awareness itself begins to break the automatic identification with the thought. The second step is observing the thought as an outsider. Imagine your thoughts as scenes in a movie, and you are merely a spectator in the audience. Rather than engaging with the storyline or assuming the role of the protagonist, you simply watch. This mental distancing allows you to see thoughts for what they are, passing images in the mind rather than fixed realities. When you take the position of an observer, the emotional charge of the thought diminishes. You begin to see that thoughts come and go, just like clouds drifting across the sky. They do not define you, and they do not have to control you unless you let them. The third step is returning to the present moment. The mind has a tendency to wander, often dwelling on past regrets or future anxieties. The quickest way to break free from a negative thought loop is to anchor yourself in the now. Shift your attention to your breath, the natural rhythm of inhaling and exhaling. Feel the sensations in your body, the warmth of your hands, or the weight of your feet on the ground. Notice the sights and sounds around you. Even a single moment of awareness is enough to disrupt the cycle of negativity. When you focus on what is real in the present, the power of mental projections begins to fade. Practicing these 3 steps regularly rewires your mental patterns. Over time, you become less reactive and more aware, gaining mastery over your inner world. The goal of mindful thinking is not to eliminate thoughts but to develop a new way of relating to them, one that is rooted in awareness, non-attachment, and presence. By consistently recognizing, observing, and returning to the present, you create a space where thoughts no longer dictate your emotions and actions. Instead, you cultivate a sense of inner stillness, clarity, and true mental freedom. Conclusion: remember, negative thoughts are just passing clouds in the sky of your mind. They may appear, but they do not have the power to control you, unless you allow them to. The truth is, you are not trapped by the limitations your mind creates. You have the power to choose how you respond. And mindful thinking is the key to freeing yourself from these invisible chains. By simply recognizing, observing, and returning to the present, you can gradually step away from cycles of anxiety, pressure, and stress. You don't need to force yourself to stop thinking negatively. Instead, learn to see your thoughts without attachment. Let your mind be a vast sky where thoughts are just drifting clouds, passing by without disturbing the peace within you. Now, let's share our thoughts. Have you ever felt stuck in negative thinking? How do you feel after learning about mindful thinking? Drop a comment below. I would love to hear your experiences. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who might need it. By doing so, you're not only helping yourself but also spreading positive energy to others. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.